Well, gentlemen, glad to see you guys again. It's the first of March, and we know what March means. It means in New England that my video is starting to go wonky again. Um, it means that our most unpredictable and least favorite weather is going to show up. But hopefully, the extended forecast looks like will be clear for this upcoming weekend. So that's at least promising. I think what I'll do is I'll hand off to Bob, perhaps to give us a final update and reminders, anything else that he wants to share about of course, our New England Indigenous Electronics Expo coming this Sunday, March 5th. Bob, I'll hand off to you. Would you like to talk, any last minute things on that, as well as, any other announcements you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. I'll just make a few brief comments. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Great. Okay. Well, I hope you all try to attend this weekend. I know some of you are from far away and may not make it, but we're still on. As you know, the club never cancels an event. The good news is well, I think it's good. All the tables have been sold, so that's really good. So I think in round numbers, there are about 90 tables. They've all been sold. We've got about 60, maybe 60 plus folks who have signed up for all those tables. So that's really good news. So I wanted to thank all of you who have signed up. John, you mentioned the weather. I've been watching the weather, and it looks like in Windham, the weather will be cloudy, no precipitation, high near 35. There's some concern about the weather on Saturday. I know I was talking to Larry earlier today, and he's driving down from northern New Hampshire and may come really late at night to avoid some of the snow. But I think it should be okay for Sunday, as far as I know. This week I spent some time on the phone. I confirmed with Alex. She's a sales manager at Castleton. I just reconfirmed that the show is still on, reconfirmed the layout. Tomorrow, Roger Sansusi is going to visit Castleton. As you know, Roger does the check-in for vendors. He puts up signs, things of that nature. He has never been there, so he's going down just to check out the layout and just be sure that he knows where to put signs, things of that nature. What else is happening? I'm planning to send out a final reminder on email either late tonight or early Thursday morning. As you all know, I'm using Constant Contact and send a hopefully easy to read email and get that out. And that goes to members, past members, and also friends of the club. So there's over 850 folks on that list. What else is happening? One thing that's important to understand is that there's no food at Castleton. So this is a big change from the environment at the Marriott. So in my email that goes out tomorrow, I mentioned that there's no food. I encourage folks to bring their own coffee, bring a snack, because we'll be there past lunchtime. If you can, bring something for a friend. I know in a previous meeting with the directors, Bruce talked about he would bring some water. So if you all feel comfortable to either bring your own food or bring a little something extra, that would be great. I did try to talk to Castleton, or try to negotiate with Castleton for some coffee and pastries. Wasn't really successful, which is pretty consistent with what Larry had been saying all along. Castleton really works on a per plate basis or per person basis. For example, you have a wedding, 100 people come, you have 100 plates of food. So I talked to them this week about pastries, coffee, and granola bars. They wanted $13.05 a person, which seemed a little bit expensive to me. And folks I talked to on the phone were not very encouraging that we should do that. For example, if we bought 100, that would be $1,300. Well, it's really not viable for the club. I went last Saturday to the the Connecticut Vintage Radio and Communication Museum at a swap meet last Saturday. And I've got a picture. I'm not prepared to put it up, but they were selling coffee for $1 and donuts for $1.50, which seemed more like it might be comfortable for our group. So I think what we'll do is, if this goes well at Castleton and we want to renew for next year, we'll negotiate something that works a little more flexibly for us for food. So just a reminder, bring your own coffee, bring some snacks. There's a Dunkin' Donuts nearby. I'm not affiliated with Dunkin' Donuts, but it opens at 5 a.m. on Sunday. Vendors can start, or sellers can arrive at 6 and set up tables from 6 to 8. So if you get off the interstate at 93 and you're headed towards Castleton, you keep going for about a mile and it's on the left-hand side. So if you wanted to stop there. And I looked at the website, they say they're open at 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Did that $1.50 include the whole?
Pardon?
Did that $1.50 donut, did that include the whole?
Yes. That's the whole. Yeah, that's the whole price. You're right. That's the whole price for one donut. I talked to, you're asking about the cost of a donut. I talked to John Ellsworth. He's the director of the museum. He told me they make a profit on the donuts because the donuts cost $1.25. So, so they had a dozen donuts there. So I don't think he's really making a lot of money.
No.
And when I left, there were a couple donuts left. So I think they probably lost money on the deal, but there was a donation can there and people were putting the money in. So I think if we could do something like that, that would work out.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll have to sort of put our heads together and see if we can come up with something creative but manageable. Because nobody wants to be burdened with bringing in lots and lots of food, but we also have to be careful how much they would allow us to bring in anyway, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think when Larry, who led the selection committee last summer, his feedback to our selection group was that Castleton was okay if we brought in our own food, but we couldn't really sell it to people. So I suppose if we put it out for free and ask for donations, that might be stretching it, but I'm not sure that's the way to go this year. We'll need to work that out next year, I think.
Yeah. There's a couple of, I've seen some clubs, like I can speak of one where they don't have a huge number of attendees. So they'll just bring in, some boxes of donuts and it's basically gratis, and because, probably, they probably go to like Costco or whatever, because it looks like it's, each box comes with like, 12, 15 donuts, they bring in 3 or 4 boxes and, they roll the risk. So you figure you spend maybe, $50 on the donuts and assume that, they just take it, they take it as part of the budget in the club.
Yeah, we could consider doing something like that, but that's, again, we can't really consider that right now. The show is happening and I think we need to go with what we've got. Yeah, I wanted to make one other comment, John. Yeah,
absolutely.
I see Howard's on the call. I saw his corresponding asking about being sure that we.
Thank you.
Great, Bob. Thank you. I think need to thank Bob and the planning committee for really putting a lot of front end work here, because we're all going to learn from this event, because like anything, we'll get there and we'll learn what works, what doesn't work, and we'll tweak it for next year. Hopefully ask for everybody's patience and, in case there are the hiccups, so we'll get through it. And we have seasoned individuals that have done it before and we can do it again. And, but we're looking forward to it. The location should be good. And if nothing else, everyone gets to get together and, have a good camaraderie and get together and just see everybody again in person, face to face. This is as close as we get right now and as over our Zoom meetings. At any rate, that's great. So thanks. Does anyone have any other announcements that are sort of in that other club events or other vintage electronics events that maybe are noteworthy before I go to the next part of our agenda?
No, but I agree with you as far as goes. Thank you, Bob. Thank you to the whole planning committee that did all this. There was a lot behind it. So anybody that was part of that, thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, if there's no other announcements, I'll just go on to the next one. It's more of a round robin to see if anyone has, any new acquisitions they've gotten, or any ongoing projects, or perhaps even a preview of what they might be bringing to the NEVI 6 events this coming Sunday, or anything else you'd like to sort of share with us.
Yes.
Please do.
John, I've got a quick overview of what I will be bringing up on Sunday. Anybody else first?
Sure, no, go ahead.
Okay, it's basically what I had left over from Fall Brookline, minus the big Blaupunkt. Thank God I was able to sell that. That and a few 2-meter handhelds were about the only thing that I moved, and one weather radio song, which was in really tough shape. But what I have behind me is pretty much what my table looked like last fall, and it'll look like again. Over here is my Hallicrafters stack. I've got oh God, it's been so long since I worked on it. I hardly even remember the number. I think it's the S108 on the bottom. That has been refurbished. I'm very careful not to use the word restored, because I know we've got some really expert restorers here. I tend to refurbish and fix and clean, but I'm not willing to put myself in the role of a restorer. So the bottom Hallicrafters is totally recapped, works very well. It was in pretty good shape when I got it, and it cleaned up very, very nicely. So I will be trying to sell that again. The Hallicrafters above it is a once again, I should have prepped for the meeting. I don't remember the model number. It's a living room version of another Hallicrafters communications receiver. And again, it cleaned up very nicely. I got that at an estate sale, totally recapped and cleaned up the pots and everything, and it performs very well. I was really happy with that. And then the S38 on top is, I don't know, it's one of those, I don't know if everybody else is like this, but every now and then you get a radio and you just can't wait to get it out of the house because it fought back so much during the restoration or refurbishment phase. When I got that, I thought it was in pristine condition, and then I realized that the parts that were in it were so old they looked like originals, but somebody had been in there with a machete, probably in the mid 60s, and I had to redo a whole bunch of the circuitry in there. I got to the point where it performs well, but I don't feel any emotional attachment to this one at all. So I hope somebody up at Castleton likes it and takes it home with them. Over here, I've got my Heathkit stack, and it's an HW16 on the bottom, which a lot of you would probably recognize. That was actually my own novice transmitter that I built in the 1970s, and the related FVO on top, VFO on top of it. I sent this pair out to an old friend who I hoped would get interested in ham radio, and it was I loaned it to him, and I only got it back 35 years later. The VFO, as near as I can tell, is still in very, very good condition. The HW16 itself is going to take some work. I know there's a neon bulb where the lead broke off of it, and there were problems with it, and I have neither the time nor the interest in fixing it up. So I'm going to be trying to let the HW16 itself go inexpensively. I just want to get rid of it. And then the one on top is a Cold War relic that some of you might realize. It's a Conelrad alarm. Had nothing to do with the HW16 and its VFO, but it's something I got separately, and it's a very interesting relic from the early 1960s. Obviously, there's no way to test it, but I hope somebody at Castleton finds that interesting. The other half of my radio hobby, my radio interest, is shortwave listening and monitoring, and the bottom unit over here, I see it, yeah, is it's a Realistic Pro 3A. It's a 3-band tunable VHF UHF receiver. It's the first real radio that I bought with my own money when I was in college in the early 1970s. If that sells, it's going to break my heart, but there's really no reason for me to hold on to it. My kids won't have any interest in it. And the one on top of it is sort of its predecessor. It's a dual band, low VHF, high VHF tunable receiver. And, but it's so early, the bandwidth was 15 kilohertz. So the only thing it picks up anymore is pager signals. It really won't decode even a strong narrowband FM transmission, but it works, and it's tube, whereas the bottom one is solid state. This beast here, this is kind of one of my favorites. This is a radio sound that would be dropped out of an airplane. It's got a ripcord ring up here. When they dropped it out of the plane, the ring would go off. There's a timer, and then a parachute pops out. This antenna goes down, and it would turn on the transmitter, and then it's got a sensors in the side for temperature and humidity and things like that. And it worked at, I think, 406 megahertz maybe. I actually had a really cheap plastic later version that did sell at Fall Brookline. I was surprised that went. But somebody that's really into that era of radio sound might find this interesting. And then I've just got a handful of weird things. I've got like one of the original Garmin GPS units, still works. Got a optoelectronics counter, frequency counter, still works, I think. And an old Regency 30 to 1.2 gigahertz scanner. All it does is narrowband FM and wideband FM. It doesn't do, obviously it doesn't do anything digital, but this still works. So, you know, I'm, as most of you guys know, I am a relative newbie to both the club and to old radios. I've been a radio hobbyist off and on all my life, but I'm very curious to see how Castleton is going to compare to Fall Brookline. Fall Brookline really didn't seem like there were many actual buyers. If it was already restored or repaired, people didn't seem to be interested. And I heard John or somebody make a comment earlier that Castleton and the spring NEVEE meets tend to get more, I don't know, end users, consumer users. So I hope it works, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys up there.
Great. Well, thank you, Bruce. Now, what table do you have? Because everyone knows, you know where to go find Bruce.
I think it's number 87. I brought it up as a question in groups.io a couple of days ago and got an immediate response. I couldn't see the reserved table list from my computer for some reason, but I think I was told it was 87. When you go in, it's all the way to the wall to the right and one of the first three tables up there.
Excellent. This is great, Bruce. You have some good stuff there, and I'm sure it'll be a great event, and you'll be surrounded by others with all sorts of good stuff. This is great.
Oh, John, I should mention one other thing. I'm going to try taking up my AM transmitter. I'm going to attempt to hook it up so that I can play some Benny Goodman or Duke Ellington through my radios, so people can see that they're working, at least on the AM band. And if it works, of course, anybody that in the area that can pick up the signal is certainly welcome to it. I don't have a whole lot of hope that it will work. What with they probably have really noisy fluorescent lights or other RFI systems up there, but I'm going to try it, and if it works, people or anybody that can pick up my signal is welcome to it.
Be interesting to see what kind of reception we get in Castleton, because we know that inside the building in Brookline is pretty much a Faraday cage, so you get next to nothing. I guess you get some intermittent in some of the venues we've had for the expo show. You can get some reception, but it depends where you are and so forth. But so I guess we'll learn that as well. Maybe we'll be more successful. It can't be any worse than Brookline.
Well, I
So,
think, John, to be honest with you, I don't know if you remember when I brought that big old RCA console to Brookline, we got quite a few stations. The Marriott, however, we got absolutely nothing.
Really interesting.
Brookline isn't too bad if it's a sunny day. That's what I find.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Howard. I do remember how successful we were with your radios, that they actually were pulling in reasonably respectably for we get mixed results, and with trying radios in Brookline. So that's a fair point. But does anyone else have anything they'd like to share in any way, any form?
I do.
The appetite of the prospective buyers. Brad, did you say something?
Yes, I have an interesting problem.
Okay.
I have my looks as if at some point in the future I'm really going to have to be downsizing my lab and radio collection, and I have a bunch of general radio instruments that I'd like to find a home for. There's one large, their 1001 lab signal generator, and there's a DigiBridge, and then there's about I think around 10 of their modular plugins that are connect togethers, I guess is the best way. A couple of pulse generators, an audio oscillator, and some other things. And in an ideal universe, I'd like to find someone who would like to take the whole lot for a nominal amount of money and resell it or put it to good work. And I'm not quite sure how to go about this. Well, I'd start, I think, by posting a list to the club group and see what people might be interested in.
That'd probably be a good start, Brad, because in fact, it's perfectly fine to go to the broader group, because we only have a subset of our groups.io members who are part of the swap meet. And in fact, what some people have done is just post it on both, which is perfectly fine, to make sure there isn't a mutual exclusion going on. It's hard to believe there would be, but I guess anything is possible if you only join this group. But yeah, by all means, do that.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Sure.
yeah, one other thing, which is
Okay.
I'd like to find a home for. It's a Lambda Industries power supply, electronically regulated, 200 volts, 0 to 200 volts, and 200 mils. And it's a bunch of tubes on here that someone could salvage, like 3 6L6s and a couple of 5U4s and 4 or 5 12AX7s, all things that an audio person would love to have. And it might save the tube complement of a tech scope. And that's free if I can get anybody to stop up here in Meriden and pick it up. Thank you.
That's great. Well, yeah, definitely post that as well, Brad. And Gentlemen, you've heard it here. You
That's
know where to
better.
find. But see if you can maybe if you're interested, go track down Brad there. All right. So any other announcements or anything anyone wants to share before I share some photos? Oh, David. All right.
Well, unfortunately, it's 1,500 miles and a 25-hour drive, so I probably will not be there. But
Well, yeah.
but I did want to show you one of my favorite radios from, I think it was like at least 25 years ago or more when I bought my first radio, and it was in brown bakelite. This is the Plascon version, which, you know, if anybody understands Plascon, they know
Oh, wow.
that they invariably have hairline cracks in them at various places, but this one is really in great condition. The funny thing about this is, you know, it was sometimes referred to as the Nazi radio because the eagle emblem on the front, which I think on the very first radio I bought, was missing the emblem. And the lesson I learned right away was don't ever buy the radio unless it's got the emblem, because finding the emblem is not easy. They were pulled off by naughty children over the years. But it's a 1948 Zenith 7H822 from 1948. And it was, you know, an early entry by Zenith into the AM FM delivery. And it's just a great set. And at some point in time, I even found the ad for the radio from Saturday Evening Post or some publication. And it says, amazing FM AM value in radios. Only Zenith has it, the set that leading FM stations use to check on the quality of their own broadcast. So the bakelite version is in the big part of the ad, and the little Plascon set is down at the bottom. It's just a really favorite radio of mine. I must have owned 10 or 12 of these over the years. It's like sometimes you just get addicted to some radios, and every time you find one or buy one, you're ready to buy another one, especially if it has the gold eagle on the front.
Those are really nice radios. And in fact, I've always liked not only the design, but the packaging. It's really a fairly tidy package. You know, doesn't take a lot of space, but it's a very elegant look.
John,
Hey,
I have a couple of short items.
sure.
Out back of my house, I have a 20-foot by 10-foot wide shed. And unfortunately, the roof ripped. I had to put a large tarp over it. And I went around the back of the shed, which I haven't done, you know, this winter so far, mainly because I can't walk. But a friend of mine was with me. And the rear flap was open, and there were two boxes had fallen out. One of them had two Transoceanics in it, and the other one was an old slot track set. Anyway, the Transoceanics are just wasted. All the woodwork is all rotten. You know, the chassis is okay. That's one story. The other thing is I'd like to thank whoever is grabbing the AWA videos and films and so on. They're terrific. The recent story about the production of the Gronau radios was really excellent. And just I, for one, really enjoy those articles. So that's all I have to say. Other than that, good evening.
Good evening, Adrian. Good to see you. And yeah, no, I think you speak for all of us on we appreciate, I think it's Mark, what's his last name? Is it Erdl? Did I get that right? Sharing on a regular basis. There's just some terrific content that he provides on groups.io. So yeah, that he should hear a thank you from all of us, really. Certainly appreciated. Anyone else? Oh, hey, George. Hey, long time no see. In fact, a quick greeting to George and Per. We haven't seen these two gentlemen in a while in our Zoom meetings, so always good to see you guys back.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad you did the Wednesdays. It turns out it is a little bit better for me than Thursday, but it still is a tough deal sometimes. But in any case, thank you, and again, hello everyone. David, I just want to say thanks for showing that. Zenith said I've seen the the brown bakelite one a lot, but it's the first time I've seen the white one, so I appreciate that. It's really kind of a cute color. The way it's presented.
The white ones are a little bit harder to find.
Yeah, I have to admit, I hadn't seen one. So two things. One is I'm going to be cleaning out my shed, and it's got lots of stuff in it, and it's actually some rental space that I've had for 10 years, which is worth, I paid many more times than anything in there is worth, I'm sure, but I'll be starting to let some of that stuff go, and I'll put it up here in the groups.io. But I started off with, I just put in an almost full set of the riders that I'm going to offer. It's 2 through 22 right now, so I'm missing the first and the last one. But if you know of anyone that's interested in getting the actual hard copy, I'm up in York, Maine, not that far, and we're actually really close to the Kittery outlets. So, if you come up as a couple, you can certainly drop off one side and the other side and come pick up the books. But I've got some radios and other stuff that will be coming out, but I just thought I'd mention that. And then finally, I know I've been following some of the conversations before about the FM alignment course that was given in Brookline back, I guess, a couple of issues ago. And, oh, interesting, I just lost my light here. That's okay. And I hadn't heard whether it ever was, the recording of that was ever found or been able to be moved up. I've got a couple of Fisher tuners that I wanted to maybe start taking a look at that, and I just wanted to have a chance to review it. So anyways, that's what I know, and I'll step back. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, George. I'll respond to that. The FM tuning course. I'll have to chase down Bill Chenette because I did reach out to him, but I never got a response. And if we see him at the event, we'll ask him if he's got a physical copy or something that I can upload, because I would. You're not alone, George. There have been others who have asked for the training recording, and Bill had recorded it on a video camera and said that you can make hard copies. But I'm sure of all of us, if you don't really want a physical, DVD, you'd rather just see it thrown up on YouTube, and you can watch it as many times as you want conveniently from any device that has an internet connection. So I will make it a point of, if I can find Bill, because I'm hopefully optimistic that he will be there, that I will ask him and see what we can do to figure that out, because we need to get back and revisit that. It did come up before, and I apologize. There's been enough going on that I'll see if I can track that down, because it is great content. Alan did a great job. He always gives great presentations, and there's some good tips learned from him as well as Larry. So good point, George. And if you don't hear from me, just ping me again, but I'll see if I can chase Bill down at
well, I appreciate it. I know it's hard to stay on top of all of this stuff. You've got so many things juggled in the air. So I do appreciate that. And I guess just as a side thing, I'm starting to look for an FM generator. So right now, I'll take anyone's thoughts on what the good ones are, but I'm kind of narrowing it down to maybe one of the Heathkit IG37s, which does the subcarriers and all that kind of stuff. But I'll take any advice that people have. Feel free to either send me an email or chat with me or something. Anyways, thanks.
Oh, sure. And I'm quite sure between Alan and Larry, they were sort of advocating some fairly cost-effective approaches. I don't remember the specific details off the top of my head. It was one of the things that was pretty impressive about it, is that you don't have to sink a ton of money to actually do some reasonable alignment. So for sure, if I can get the video to you at any time soon, by all means, reach out to Alan and Larry. They might be able to share some details of what they use that hopefully will be a reasonable option. But otherwise, we'll see if we can get that video for you.
Thanks, John.
Great. Thank you, George. Looking forward to seeing you. Anybody else? All right. Well, it looks like then I can transition over to the next item on our agenda, which would be, I happened to be able to attend a Arizona Antique Radio Club swap meet back in February, and I took some photos. So not a ton of photos, but if I can always go back to, there was another event late summer last year that I don't think I ever shared any of the photos from, so I can do that too. But so to give a little bit of background, I might have done this before, but the Arizona Antique Radio Club is significantly smaller than ours. I would say we're probably roughly in terms of membership, probably about a quarter. I would say they have no more than about 100 members, and the annual dues are around $20 a year. And they seem to sort of focus on, 4 to 5 events, swap meets a year. They don't have that, from what I can tell, that big event that we do. I think there was an event held in Tucson. I've never been to an event in Tucson. I've been to Tucson, but it's just on other personal reasons, but that may be an occasional big event for them, maybe by combining the two locations. But at any rate, so this one means in overall, given the membership, are more modest than ours. Like this particular event was only about, oh gosh, I would say only about no more than 8 to 10 vendors this time around. But I'm sure it varies between people coming in and out of town, other personal obligations. But anyway, it's fun because the early, the meet, because of the weather, is outside, so it's cool, but it's quite comfortable. So it's not like you have to go right into inside the building. Whereas like in the summer events, they basically, their venue is it's a local church that has a hall, and so they have a big parking lot to host the vendors outside, and then when it's really hot in the summer, they just go indoors with a more cooler air conditioned environment. So it's obviously a club that probably is with a lot of people who are transplants, and maybe I'm not sure where the growth is, and whether they might do something more extensive like we do, like the Vintage Electronics Club of Arizona. At any rate, without further ado, I don't know much about the club's dynamics because I only make intermittent when I'm in the area. I make an appearance, and I am a member. I spend the $20. Why not? Keep them going. I'm there enough. So anyway, let me show some photos from and here we go. So, let me know if everyone can see this. I hope everyone can see this okay. So what we have here, this looks like a nice Atwater Kent. This was sitting in a sort of gentleman's pickup. He just rolled it out of the back of his pickup truck. Looks pretty complete. I'd even dare to say that that grill cloth looks pretty original, and actually pretty solid shape overall. I mean, sure, it could use some cleanup and probably some light refinishing, but it wouldn't embarrass a household if you took it as is. But
Yeah.
and that was also yet a equivalent speaker for, I guess, like, I assume, I don't know, I'm at work, Kent, whether you could connect this additional speaker to the back. I know that, or not, or is it just a standalone speaker for some other reason? But that was there, and I thought it was rather nice condition overall, certainly more than restorable.
They were
You can
used
see
with
it's
the metal. Oh,
Sorry?
I was gonna say they were used for the metal box Atwaters, like a Model 40.
Sure.
They sat on top of the metal box. That goes back to about 1928.
The
Yeah, it's
breadboards
an
as well.
The breadboards used them, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was quite smart, you know, and more than salvageable, you know, in terms of its. And here we have a Packard Bell, you know, looks like more likely a transistor, you know, solid state, though it's hard to say. I'm not sure when the cutover was, whether this is, you know, could still be based.
Those radios, it's not a great radio, but it's actually very sought after because that's a radio that was used on Gilligan's Island. It's a Packard Bell. And that radio even has a phony antenna on it because it had a little internal antenna on it. So that's just basically for a prop.
Interesting.
And they
So
just
you
go
think-
for stupid money. I mean, go on eBay and just do a Packard Bell search and you'll find one of them up there. And the white one, they actually made them in different colors too. But the that I've seen these things go for $300-400.
Wow, that's interesting. It is, by the way, this is fully, I see that says 8 transistors. I just saw this. I was trying to see what the fine print was. I hadn't looked.
Yeah,
in
if you're
fact-
not familiar with Packard Bell, it was actually a Los Angeles, California manufacturer, and they actually made it to actually making some TVs and stuff too. So they this was probably, I think, their last transistor.
Okay. Yeah, it's not surprisingly out in Arizona, you're more apt to see some of the West Coast radio makers, you know, in this area. So not surprisingly, you do see a reasonable amount. Of course, there's a lot of people from the Midwest who are transplants to the area, so you'll see plenty of Zeniths and so forth. Oh, this was interesting. This was an unusual piece of vintage electronics.
Shock therapy.
It is supposed to be Dr. Guy Clifford Powell's electrovibratory apparatus for the cure of deafness.
Oh, boy.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
what this
because
thing-
what'll happen is they hook you up to that, and then you scream, and then you'll be able to hear it.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, the only thing that they need to throw in there is a Jacob's ladder for the full effect, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty neat because, you know, hey, we're into any vintage electronics, and this is something that Mark Vest would absolutely be interested in because of his unique collection. But it comes from Peoria, so I guess Indiana, I presume.
I think Peoria was Illinois.
Probably Illinois. Oh, Illinois. Okay. I guess there is more than one. I couldn't tell because I can't see I think the state is
The wires in
probably,
the way.
but it is an vibratory apparatus. So I thought it was unique and certainly unusual, and certainly photo worthy.
It certainly would be a great conversation piece if you had a cocktail party at your house and get somebody, that's got that's already good and juiced, and you ask them if they want to try it.
That's right. Especially, well, it's unrestored, so let's find out.
Yes.
Well, it's too bad you can't see a patent number on there somewhere. You could actually look up the patent and figure out how was this guy planning to cure deafness, not just divert it, but actually cure it with this device. I mean, a lot of people had strange beliefs about what electricity could do back in the 20s, and I would love to read the patent. And who knows? Maybe I'll look it up and see if I can find it.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, I did not do any research on this, but it's as unique as I can recall seeing. Short of, like I said, some of Mark's collection, we had some truly unique devices. I think this would be right up his alley. I think I got a close up of the. Yeah, I did. I got a close up just because I thought, well, and this is number 9696, and I don't know if that's a 0, but that means that are there close to 10,000 of those out there, or not sure where the numbers started on this, but it even has a building named after him, seemingly. But oh yeah, here's a close. Oh, somehow I never righted this photo. I'll do that right here. There we go. No more details, I'm afraid, Howard. I do see some. Oh no, that's settings. So I don't know what this is exactly doing. It's set on to 900. I don't know whether that's volts or, but you know, curious
Decibels.
piece. Yeah, maybe.
Milligrams.
Yeah, who knows what that is, but it's probably worth some research. Now here is a very nice Stromberg Carlson. Very attractive looking radio, nice vertical dial, buttons, quite nice shape, I would say, overall. I think, I don't know, I'm sure somebody knows this answer. I'm assuming this is maybe just for symmetry and this is a single speaker, or is this a dual speaker radio?
It looks to just have one opening on the left.
Yeah, that's kind of my thinking as well. That's what I saw, but there's a chance I was wrong. But yeah, that's so it has all the decals. Everything looks in pretty nice shape. The tuner, the modes, the bands, I should say, and phone.
I wonder if that's a Vasos design. That looks really Art Deco.
Post-war though, I think 46.
46, you say?
I think it's about there, yeah. I think it came after the war. They're very
Yeah, suspect-
collectible.
Is it just a funny thing with the picture, or is that a piece of veneer lifting in the back right?
It looks like it's actually false veneer. There's no speaker hole or anything
saying-
else there.
Yeah, it does look like a piece of veneer, yeah.
You say maybe that's, I think, a good catch there, George. I think you're right. I think there's a
Yeah.
little damage here and it's lifting. That's something that I would probably opt to see if I could, glue down and try to do minimal repair just to, because it looks in otherwise pretty nice shape. Oh, here we go. Howard found the patent. Nice. So now we have what the settings are. Yeah, very nice radio. And here we have an Aviola. Radio you see very often.
The
Reasonable
dial
shape.
scale
And
looks a lot like a Philco.
sorry?
I said the dial scale font looks a lot like some of the post-war Philcos, like on the 1201.
Yeah. And this, I guess, was asking $50 for it. I don't know if it was restored electronically or not, but nice enough radio. Here's an Arbin, needing perhaps some cosmetics, but overall looks reasonable shape. Everything seems to be there otherwise. And this might need some help on this one, because one that's not jumping at me as to who made this.
I think it's a General Electric.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Nice sort of semi-Art Deco, shape. I think it's rather attractive in its own way. Very basic radio.
Yeah. All the
I like it.
numbers are decals on the face, so it's fortunate those are on there yet, because if you refinish the cabinet, you'd have to find some decals to put back on.
Yeah, and also the hard thing is trying to get it right. Get the exact location. You'd have to do some very careful planning, because everything is sort of like vertical here, straight line, not even quite vertical, because this is actually angled. I'm not even sure this is straight. Yeah, this would be a tough one. It's a really good point, Greg. A little bit of a nightmare.
Wow.
And here is a rod, is
Garrett.
that what they, Garrett? Unusual finish.
Tolex?
Sorry?
It looks like there's some kind of a Tolex finish. It's a
Yeah,
fabric.
Looks like hammer tone,
Yeah, it could be metal too.
blue hammer tone or something.
Yeah. Never seen anything
Yeah.
like that before.
yeah, it's unusual. I mean, it was, you don't see these
If-
very
if-
often.
If you look to the upper right there, you see the original black Bakelite molding, and then there's white on that, and I suspect that that was probably the original color. And I think somebody painted the hammer tone over to white.
Ah,
There you go.
right, makes sense.
Yeah, I had one of them that was white, except the part that said Garrett and the grill was green. And I think most of them were like that. They were painted Bakelite.
Hmm.
Okay. It's just a slightly odd color choice, but it's not offensive, it's just unusual. It's a silvery blue. And here's a nice RCA, reasonable condition. I don't remember what this is selling for, but let's see if I can see the sign.
30.
30, that's not too unreasonable.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
It's
The wood's in
shape.
nice shape. It's not awful.
No, you could polish this up and clean it up the best you can and not be embarrassed, because I'd say it's all, it's pretty solid. Yeah, that was a nice radio for reasonable money.
I think it goes back to 1939 or 40 too, so it's pretty old.
Yeah. Oh, this was kind of neat. I
I
don't know,
remember these.
easier early, the Caravel, the Remco. This is they had the entire kit. And I said, oh, well, I've never seen one of these before. It has, the microphone, the oscillator, it's got a receiver, transmitter. It's your little base station for you ham guys. It even has, all the proper stickers, although it's lifting a little bit, but I thought it was really cool because of the box. It has the original box and everything. I've never seen one before.
So when you wanted to do QRP when you were 8 years old, this is what you got.
I think we could run it on Whisper.
Yeah, there you go, Carl.
Club
that-
member Henry Tessier told me that Rush Limbaugh started on one of those. I don't
Oh,
know
no
how true it
kidding.
is, but that's what he told me. He had one.
I saw the article. Actually, it was like a Rush Limbaugh article saying that's how he got his start. He had one of those.
That's hilarious.
The only thing that this one is missing is the knob brights. In the middle of each knob, there was a bright, and they all pretty much fell off.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I did not know that. That's good, interesting information, Howard. Yeah, I got a little bit better picture, squared it up to the main unit itself, but that was pretty clever, and you don't see these all that often, at least not in this condition overall in its original box with most of the accessories. I thought it was fun, if nothing else.
Being Remco, I assume it was a crystal radio.
It had 3 transistors. This is just I don't remember, I couldn't find a diagram for it, but it had 3 transistors. That's all I remember. I think it took
Okay,
a few 3 AA's maybe. I don't remember fully. And mine did not have either the microphone or the key with it. It was incomplete.
yeah, I've got the transistor radio, the crystal radio with the little round antenna up on top with the original box. I picked up somewhere along the way for big money. Now I'm afraid it's not big money anymore, but it brought back memories.
But anyway, yeah, it was fun. it has a little slight Jetson look about it. Because what time would you say it was? This early '60s? How would you
Yeah.
think latest?
Early 60s,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the
64 maybe.
Yeah, it's cool. It's
I
fun.
lusted for one.
You missed your chance.
No, we're talking 60 plus years ago.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if maybe it's still on the list,
Nah,
but so I guess onward to this. There was a Philco Trans World, sort of like your typical Philco equivalent of a TO. I thought was kind of neat because I haven't seen a Philco of this type very often, so I thought it was certainly photo worthy.
Yeah.
It's usually, I see the Zenith or the other
It's actually
makers.
a very good radio.
Oh, is that right?
The only drawback with that is that once you get up to the 16 meter band, I don't know, that even though this was transistor, it still has the problem with, getting getting the oscillator to oscillate high enough to get really good reception on the 16 meter band. But other than
Interesting.
that, it's a great radio.
It looks to be generally complete. A little tired, but not not awful. I mean, at least it seems to have everything: the strap, the globe, the world map, and so forth. So it was, and I think the one thing the Arizona Antique Radio Club does is for club proceeds, they have an auction. Basically, members can drop off whatever they want, vintage electronics. It looks like a cross between our silent auction in terms of quality and our free table. And so they just auction off things, and they can, whatever the proceeds go to the club, help them along. So it is not a professional auctioneer. It's very gentle on it, but that's how I actually got it. I bought a radio there, not at this event, but at a prior one, took it home in my suitcase because it wasn't that big, but I got it for $5. So it was like, I couldn't resist I think I showed that before, the automatic radio company from Boston, the portable, radio that I couldn't resist because it's in that tartan fabric, classic from the late 50s. So had to have it. But so that's one of the things that's kind of unique to the club. So, but it's like I said, it runs the gamut. There's sometimes some really nice pieces put there, and I assume get commensurately good proceeds, and then you have some stuff that is arguably borderline landfill material. So but that's okay. I often don't stay for the auction unless there's something I had to have, which was when I needed an automatic radio company radio. I stayed, and fortunately they did me a solid, and they auctioned that one off because they said, I really have to go. Could you auction that one off first? And I go, sure. And I think everyone was still assembling, so I raised my hand, $5. No one else raised their hand. I said, see ya, and off it went. A happy ending. Of course, I have to get it working, but that's okay. That's the future.
One thing about this radio, the Philco, the knobs often are pretty hard to find because they're fairly unique, but it turns out, because I had one of these that I sold at our club meet, probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
There is another Philco that's kind of like a medium-sized purse with the leather kind of folds over the front that has those knobs. And so it's a very inexpensive radio if you can find them, but I just thought I'd mention that there is one other radio at least that has those knobs. They're metal, so.
Good to know, George. Those are metal. So it's funny, at first glance I thought they looked plastic, but I'm going to take you on your expertise on this. No, I guess they like a pan in, maybe they do look metal, but I guess you're right, they look like metal now.
Even the grill looks metal. I wonder if it was kind of a heavier portable.
Oh, it's a very heavy portable.
Okay, George.
And I'm pretty sure that they used D cells in there, and I think there were like 8 of them. It was a pretty heavy radio when it was all loaded up and ran. And that elastic always kind of stretches out and dies. The rubber and the elastic band up top. So that's pretty much what all of them do, unfortunately. And
Yeah, let's see.
this does have a 1L6 in it, if I remember right.
No, it's the transistor.
Yeah, it's all transistor, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Okay, my mistake.
No, it's okay. Quite all right. Just got my video for a moment, reset it. As a side note, I actually tried to see if this would help with my video. It may have added some stabilizing effect as I turned off the HD part to see if that reduces the amount of bandwidth needed for video, and it's maybe stabilizing a little bit, but it doesn't solve it completely. Any rate, moving right along. Oh, I even got a close up. I forgot I did that. So if you want to see even more details, like I said, if it was, chances are that probably sold for like, $5-10, because I think that was on the auction table anyway. So it probably was sold off for a pretty modest price, and that would be well worth it to invest the $5-10 and see what you can do with it. Let's see here. We got a Zenith. Not too bad. Little there's some things, and I'm not sure what's going on with this. Oh no, that's factory.
That's a power light.
Yeah, that's right. I was just remembering that yeah, it's a little light that glows. Is it red, I think?
Yes.
Overall, not too bad a shape. I don't know what the price was on this one. Here we
Oh, that's
have,
one of the little Japanese AA5s probably.
At the jacket store.
Probably a Tokai or some of the other names they had for them.
okay. Yeah, I was looking for a label on this, and if there's something here, it's so worn off.
Yeah, it would go into that little rectangular spot right there.
Yeah, the adhesive dried up and it fell out.
Yeah, yeah. So it's your real basic, but certainly colorful.
They're just plain cute. I mean, they're just so tiny and cute.
Yeah, they can't. I think this couldn't be more than like 6 inches wide. It was pretty small, 6-7 inches. Oh, here, this was neat. This is a Delco, which you don't see these very often. Portable, and I think this was on the auction table as well. I said, wow, that's really kind of unusual. I kind of like even the dial face, the whole thing that I thought was really quite interesting. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen one before, but this is my first.
I've never seen this either, but I noticed the knob in the middle. It says line, battery, and then charge. So I wonder if that thing had come with rechargeable batteries.
I would assume it did, and I'm going to guess this is just judging from this. I'm guessing this is somewhere in the mid to late 50s. If I recall, other ones of that era had things, at least a charge indicator. I think my Telefunken Elite portable has that mode, but because I think it used rechargeable batteries, but it's long. It also offered AC option. That mine only is wired for AC at this point. The batteries were basically part is basically, if it's restored, I haven't verified it works with batteries. But yeah, so it was neat. And actually even the case, the sort of this, final well was kind of neat. But I'd say this is the first one I've seen. Here, was that the last one? I have others, so see here. Yeah, I guess that was the last photo. So I'm going to unshare for a moment, just go to another folder. I think we have it's only 8/11. I'll show a few more photos from the last event I attended. Was late summer. I happened to be in town there, and just a few other little interesting radios. Stop share for a moment here. Go to my folder. Hey, let's see, I'll reshare. All right. I hope you guys can see this okay. So this is an indoor event because it was late summer, so you can see I had to rely on natural light for the photos. But here's a nice, I believe, a Motorola. Is that right?
That's a
No.
Mantola.
And
A Mantola. I've never seen a Mantola before. Where's
Um,
that from? Do you,
The Mantola, I believe it's just like a Western Auto,
oh,
like an Admiral or something. It's like one of those Continental Electric. That's what it is, and they just
Oh.
put the Mantola label on it. I have a Mantola, and it's a Continental Electric chassis.
got it. Got it.
I
I think the
had a
first,
couple of Mantolas in the past that were permeability tuned, where they actually use tuning the slugs to change the channels. I don't know if you know, if others have noticed that with some of those Mantolas.
Mine doesn't, but I do have a Delco with the permeability tuning. Yeah, occasionally you see them. It's kind of cool.
So some of the Firestones did that too, the slug tuning.
I like the color combination. I'm assuming this is an original factory color selection, but certainly if this is from the 50s, the gold and white was a popular combination, at least on cars and so forth. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is how it was made. Really looks attractive, even if it's not. It's tastefully done. Here's the Zenith. Not sure the exact model number on this one, but
5D011, I think. Console
nice
tone.
job. Yeah, it was actually enough radio in pretty reasonable shape for $30. Not
That's
too bad.
a great deal for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think this is a carryover, because I just realized it's the same radio I showed just a moment ago, a little bit better. You get a different perspective, and still asking 30. Now there weren't any takers, so that's funny how that's carried over for 6 months easily. Guess
It's
that's
that
what
really
feeling
love
of
the handle
deja
on
vu
that.
all over again.
I'm sorry.
It's that feeling of deja vu all over again.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say I really love the handle on that.
Oh yeah, that is.
Very decorative.
Yeah, it's a nice looking radio. And this here is one of those little small radios. What is this thing? I can get close. Oh, it's an airline. Okay. Interesting, sort of like this. Is this fabric or is this just paint that's just starting to?
Painted
I
wood.
think it's painted over wood.
Yeah.
There we go.
What an awful color.
Yeah.
It is pretty featured color, admittedly.
I remember when I used to see my buddies get Chevys and Fords with that color, and it went right to Earl Scheib and got painted something else.
I think it was a kitchen radio and they had avocado appliances.
I
Yeah.
won't even tell you, my uncle was a gearhead and he put some really nice street rods together. I won't tell you the adjective he used to describe that color.
Well, avocado certainly is not my thing. This is.
I'll clean it up. Baby diaper green.
Yeah.
Yeah. This would look nice if it was a little more of a seafoam green, like
Yeah.
my brother had one of his first cars was a 1954 Ford, and it was this nice, tasteful, light seafoam green with a dark green roof. And that was an attractive color combination. This one is just a shade or two in the wrong direction.
I think somebody had some leftover latex house paint, I think.
You may be right, Greg. I'm not even sure the grill cloth. I mean, it could be original. It might be original. I'm not even sure what this is going for, but here's a nice
Olympic.
sort of like telephone dials style dial face. Mexican radio.
If I remember right, I think that dial is lit from the center. There's a little bulb right behind the needle and it looks really cool lit up.
Oh, it's good to know.
Yeah, it's like a speedometer.
Right.
And that also came in a wooden cabinet, same chassis.
Oh, really?
There
So was
was
the
a
cabinet-
similar radio called R-Tone that was literally the same radio. I think Olympic made it.
Interesting.
The wood one's really nice.
Is it the same style cabinet wise, or is it more squared off with the wood version?
No, it's pretty much the same, I think.
Oh, I think then I agree. I think the wood would be really nice then. It would offer us sort of an art, because it's a little bit Art Deco in its own way, sort of that late. I'm guessing that radio, was just
Late 40s.
Late 40s. Yep.
some of the manufacturers did carry over some of the art, deco themes from, like this one, for example, or even like the Fada, like the Model 790 has this sort of a nice, elegant remnants of the pre-World War II.
Mhm.
There's a nice little Bulova small transistor radio. I thought that was kind of smart looking,
Yeah, it's
generally
really
nice shape.
I think that was one of Bulva's early radios. I think that's a 6 transistor coat pocket.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's actually pretty neat. Let's see, wait a
Bendix.
minute. Yeah. That was pretty smart looking radio.
That's in really nice shape.
Yeah, I would say so.
The Plascon
wonder-
held out well.
But was this side lit, the dial face, was this was backlit, direct backlit, I wonder?
Probably.
It could look potentially very nice lit up if it was done correctly.
So it's got
But
a
nice there,
metal
nice
grill.
big metal grill, very attractive. Could just use a little bit of polishing up to clean up a little bit further, and you'd have a really smart looking radio, because physically it's in really quite nice shape. I'm not sure whether it was restored or not, but. This here is a Silvertone, I think. Yes. Sort of a neat radio.
Little thumb wheel dials. Instead of a knob,
Like-
it's got those discs.
Yeah. Neat radio. Nice condition too. All right, now. this here-
Holocrafters, I think that's a TW 2000. And that's a really, I love that color green, looks great.
Yeah, the forest green, it's quite nice, very attractive. And thanks for spotting what make and model this was, because I just couldn't remember. Yeah, it was quite smart looking radio. Oh, here was just a, never seen
Oh,
one.
that's the quintuplet RCA radio. What was the name of the kids?
Dion.
Dion Quince. The Dion Quince. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. It was certainly worth,
Pretty rare set.
Yeah, this,
RCA had the similar quintuplet phonograph, the standalone 45 player with the pictures on it, like that radio there.
Yes, the tough part is what you do about the crack here and so forth, but it looks mostly complete otherwise from what I can tell, but didn't really do a careful check.
The grill has one of the rods that's broken off, but it's there, so it could be repaired. Right in the center.
Oh, looks like another carryover. That's Ronbo Carlson is obviously made like the RCA. Deja vu all over again there.
Does your PowerPoint have a stutter?
Yeah, sorry, Bob. You know what? This event happened first, but I never shared these photos. I figured, you know, I'll share them whenever, you know, if we ever get around to it. And since I only had a fairly modest number of photos from most recent events, I thought, why not? But it's funny when you compare them, say, well, now we know we didn't sell that event. But there was I think there was another event or two between, this is around the August timeframe, if memory serves. And I think there was at least 2 other events. So this could have been carried through at least 4 club events and not been sold. So I don't know if it's sold in February, but it's funny. What's interesting, actually, is notice that there's no lifting going on here. So, and it looks like maybe this was repaired then. And did it lift? Did the repair let go?
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
So I think that's probably, because I can see it looks like it was worked here. So I guess it didn't hold up as well as the seller was hoping it would. And this is a Morse electrophonic. Something probably from the late 70s, 80s, I would assume. Flying about. Victor, reasonable condition, I would say, overall. Price was, I never caught the price in the photo, sorry guys. Boot tester. Enough, but. Stuart Warner. There you go. Pretty reasonable shape.
Yeah.
There's a vendor there that seems to specialize on the really tiny radios, and he had a whole bunch of them. So I took, you know, I'm sure a good 6, 8, 10 photos of his different ones. But here's a little Larvin with a nice, cute little handle. No, it doesn't say a price. Nah. It's hard to tell. I think the price is probably underneath on the facing down. Emerson.
Oh, that is pretty.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
That's a Plascon version of that radio.
Right.
Really quite nice. Oh, this is just, yeah, for those who probably remember back in the 70s and 80s, seeing Craig radios, you know, probably saw those on Walmarts and Caldors and all the other ones. And I just thought to take a photo more from memory for those of us who used to wander the department stores and see Craig oftentimes sold in those kind of department stores.
EJ Corvette.
Yeah, yep.
Although they had their own version that obviously was somebody else built it for them, called a Core Sonic.
Yes.
Actually, this is reasonably priced overall. It looks to be really cool. This was playing. You could tell that the lights are on and so forth. They were playing music though, and it was actually sounding more than quite nice. Overall, I'd say the price is not unreasonable. You know, if you're looking for something that's, you know, still probably wouldn't embarrass anyone's household. It probably brings back a little bit of sentiment for anyone who's used, you know, going back to that era, like I was saying.
I remember Craig more for the like 8-track players for cars and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think on the dating game, the bachelors that didn't get the date usually got them for their cars.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
complete with matchbook cover.
Yes.
So here's a Pioneer. And fairly, you know, I think they were playing that, so it was, you know, it seemed quite good. Nice. Here's the speakers this is connected to, which these, I don't really know who makes these speakers. It just says Vintage Stereo, and I didn't really spend the time to look because I didn't want to disturb the guy's table. But certainly, if you want something straight out of the 70s, There's your set of speakers. I think this is a Crosley. I could be wrong. But it just, my memory tells me just looking at it. Could be a
Repwood.
this is quite fairly old. This has got to be, you know, in the late 20s, right?
It looks like the show box, but with legs, you know, with that Repwood front. I never seen one.
Looks gothic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that almost menacing.
Knobs are huge. They look like big bug eyes on the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
know.
looks like a big mouth.
I assume they're original, you know, this radio. I just,
They're
Yeah, they
probably
look-
bred for the radio.
The
Hmm.
mice probably turn red at night and probably creep. on them.
that would
Scare
be
the
pretty
dog.
cool, wouldn't it? No, you use like, you know, like a yellow or something light behind the speaker closet, you know, or orange maybe, had the red eyes, the red dials. This here was I believe a military, signal corps.
Signal Corps.
Yeah, that was neat. Portable telephone. Yeah, because in fact, I took the close-up, I remember now. Let's see what we got here. The Forest. The reason was sort of the scuff over here, not a bad-looking radio, cosmetically.
Interesting placement for the push buttons, right in the.
Yeah, isn't it? It almost looks like an afterthought. Yeah, I took a flash photo of this because I wasn't sure how well it's going to come out, but actually the non-flash came out reasonable. But yeah, it almost looks like an afterthought, really.
Mhm.
I think it's a Canadian set.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think that the
Fine.
Forest is a Canadian set. They make a couple there with the dial on the left. I had one, but the push buttons, they weren't there. They were kind of more front to back, but it was still extremely, you had to unscrew all the push buttons to get the chassis out.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it does look a little like a Northern Electric tabletop. So I think you're right with the Canadian thing.
So
Oh,
airline.
airline.
What have we got now? Oh, jeez.
The color.
That's really a small radio. It's almost pound set.
Yeah.
It's 5
Yeah.
tunes. Slug
He likes
tuning.
this game.
Yeah, this vendor was selling a lot. It actually seems to specialize in all like the miniatures. Here was a,
Victor.
right, it's RCA, yeah. Something suitable from the mid to late 60s. I think he's asking $40 as I look at this. Needs caps. Well, yeah, if you're into that kind of style, it's more than reasonable. Condition seems to merit it if everything else works. Case is nice. Just seeing what
It might be late enough that it has the printed circuit board with the tubes on it. RCA started doing that toward the end before they went to transistor.
see. Oh, yes, the well-known Dyna radio, you invariably see one to show. Condition. Oh, this is kind of interesting, this Ion Duo Deck record player. I thought that was unique. I actually don't see those very often. And this, what was, oh, this is an armchair remote control unit, RCA Victor. That's what I thought was it.
Ah,
That's
Covered.
your station. That was and that was the thing, it's armchair remote. Pretty cool. Looks to be in quite nice shape. Oh, they had some vintage electronics games, so various games, and I know that David Spivey had given us some nice talk a good year plus ago on these kind of radio related games and other things. I thought that was kind of interesting. Nothing about this, I thought, well, that's interesting. Well, progressive radio, 2 to 24 players. Is radio questionnaire battery answer flashing game from the 30s. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Art itself is worth it, The battery set antenna I thought was interesting because it was, given its vintage and so forth. There's some interesting oddball things here. Pyramid radio noise suppressor. Jersey City, New Jersey. Dave Victor, in the original box master antenna, I thought the box is in fairly reasonable shape, not perfect, but jigsaw puzzle. Ohio radio. The extension speaker, I thought that was unusual. Again, something.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay, I have one of those speakers, but I had no idea what it was because I never saw it in a box.
Oh, there you go. For any size transistor radios.
Yeah, it has a, like an earphone jack type plug on it. So you plug it into your transistor radio and use this. There's like a speaker at each end that fires out.
That's pretty cool, actually, because that's a good, it's a good foot long easily.
Just slightly bigger than a Pringles
Yeah,
tube.
a little
I
bit
had a
bigger,
couple of them.
a little bit
But
bigger diameter.
What's really cool is the way the end looks. It's got
Yes.
kind of like a 3-prong, like a hubcap center looking thing.
Yep.
to it.
Yep.
Here's a BF Goodrich. Pretty reasonable shape, actually. Neat color too, so this brick red. An airline. Again, another pretty nice looking radio. I thought I had more than this. Let me just double check something. It's weird. I guess that's it. Let me just go check something. Maybe I've reached the end. Yes, I have. So look at that. Stop sharing. And that sort of ends my presentation. You can see, and I try to be generous in my photos, but there is an order of magnitude difference in the number of items you might see for sale there than maybe out with our Brookline events or so forth. But on the other hand, they keep the club going, they keep things moving along, and you find some neat stuff. Like some of these pictures point out some neat stuff amongst the tables. So, but well, is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? If not, I'll be closing up the meeting then. And of course, we know that in only a matter of a few more days that our Castleton event will be occurring, as we discussed earlier at the beginning of the meeting, and hope to see everybody there. Looking forward to it. And in the interim, just as a quick reminder, there will be a photo contest. So for any of you who do attend, have your camera ready, you know, do make sure you send me 2 or 3 of your favorite photos if you want to enter the contest, which I think I will run for 2 weeks. Yes, on the 19th will be the deadline to get photo submission. I need some time to clean up photos anyway, so it helps buy me a little bit of time anyway. So make sure you take some photos and enter. The standard prizes apply, as we've always done. Otherwise, I think that's about all I can think of. So I want to thank you, everybody, for attending. It's nice to see some of you guys I haven't seen in a little bit, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in a few days. But until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the evening. You get some of your time back, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks on the next Zoom. If for those of you remote people or those who just can't make the event. Plus, also I will post photos, and I do plan to take a couple of videos at the event. At least I'm going to try. One will be a short one, suitable for public consumption. You know, that hopefully no more than 5-minute one, and then one longer one, hopefully for the rest of us who maybe can't make it, but might like to see a little bit more detail. At least that's my goal. But I'll feel that once I get the castles in and see how everything's laid out and forth. But anyway, guys.
All right,
Great seeing
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Thanks for doing it,
Thank you,
John.
John.
Good night.
Yep,
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
See you Sunday.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.